Welcome to the Rainmaker Multiplier on Demand, a podcast for leading financial professionals, or rainmakers, and their teams that offer support for securing a successful future. From marketing help to staffing structure, listen and subscribe for actionable insights from advisors and skilled professionals alike.
Hello and welcome. My name is Jason Smith, and I'm your host today. And I have Tom. I don't think I've ever said your name out loud before. In all our interactions. Is it Lambotte?
Lambotte, yeah.
Lambotte. All right, awesome. So, Tom and I are both in an entrepreneurial coaching program together. Not together, but both have been in it for many years. Strategic coach. And ironically, Tom, I didn't hear about you through Strategic Coach or that circle. I found you through just some kind of marketing you did well because you showed up in my sphere somehow, and I clicked on it and started investigating. And then later on, we found out we were both in that program. So a lot of like-minded thinking, that Dan Sullivan kind of teaches us and through his program. But Tom, welcome and thanks for joining us today. I'll give a little background on you here in a moment, but just wanted to say thank you and thanks for joining.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm honored.
Yeah, for sure. Tom is the founder and president of Global Mac IT, a leading managed service provider that helps Mac-based businesses nationwide maximize productivity and security. He's also the founder and president of AI Simplifier, which is the company that I have engaged with, where he helps growth-minded founders and teams unlock their next level of performance using practical, human-centered AI. Tom has personally trained influential leaders, including Tony Robbins, Blake Mycoskie, and Peter Diamandis, Abundance 360 leadership team, on how to integrate AI into their businesses. Tom, why that's cool. I didn't know some of that stuff. I was in Peter Diamandis Abundance 360 program pretty much from the start of it through the first 5 years. I learned a lot of future-based thinking through that program. So that's cool that you trained him and his team as well.
Yeah, no, I had some great opportunities along the way that helped get me to where I am right now.
So today is about the AI advantage that financial advisors, right, can certainly leverage, but I think even anybody listening to this podcast, financial advisor or not, how you can win back time without becoming a tech company. So that's kind of like in general the focus. But Tom, before we dive into some questions that I have for you, can you just give me a little bit of background of kind of just your life's journey of what's brought you to where you're at today, kind of your story, both with from the beginning, right, of your life, even growing up, a little bit of background I think is helpful, as well as what led you to start the IT company that you have, and why is it Mac focused, right, versus PC. Love to hear a little bit about that in that journey. And then lastly, how AI Simplifier came about.
Yeah. So in the beginning, December 25th, 1980, the setting is a little town in Belgium. I was born. So we're going in the beginning. So grew up in Belgium, moved to San Diego when I was 8. My whole family decided to move out there with an opportunity my dad had. So grew up a Southern California native and went through college. I was always entrepreneurial, one of those kids, buying Mexican candy in bulk when we go over the border and breaking it out, to my classmates to make a little money on the side. I was always up to something, always entrepreneurial. One thing I took for granted, which I only recently realized, is I've always been a technology simplifier. So I had a chance to do an exchange program in Japan And I came back and brought back one of the first digital cameras. They were brand new. And so I taught myself everything about it inside and out and started playing with it. Similar thing happened when I went to college, and I had a Compaq laptop, right? We had grown up with Macs, but we didn't have that much money, so I couldn't afford to get a Mac laptop when I went to school. So I got a Compaq, and it was a total piece of garbage. And it finally died on me when I was running a training seminar. I bought a Mac, and I got my first Mac, and I was like, and I'll never forget the excitement I had of setting up my printer. I took the USB cord and I plugged it in. And that was it. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have to download drivers and try the CD that's outdated and dig for it and all that. And so
Right.
I just love the simplicity and the user experience of Apple computers. And so I kind of fell in love with them and just started playing with them and taught myself, everything it could do. I then started, helping my friends. I get a lot of people make the conversion from PC to Mac. And so eventually once I never actually graduated. I dropped out of college, but I sold Cutco knives with vector marketing very successfully right out of high school. And I did it for 4 or 5 years during college and after. And that was a really crucial moment in my kind of experience. They had amazing mentorship, amazing programs. John Vroman, right? We both have been in his Front Row Dads program at some point.
Yep.
I forget if you're still active in it. John Berghoff, Hal Elrod, who wrote The Miracle Morning, right? So those were all people I worked with during that time.
Yeah.
And it was just an amazing experience. I was not one of the top performers. I was not as good as Hal Elrod or some of these other names, but I had a hard work ethic. And so I got sales, I made sales and I did well. But when I got into management and leadership, that's when it really shifted, right? And that's what I love to do. That's what came naturally to me. I love just developing and helping other people.
Yep.
Went to school at UC Santa Barbara for a couple years, went to Cal State San Marcos, business related things. And then I dropped out because I was like, I can learn at my own pace exactly what I want, with much less friction, right? And I was like, if I have to go back and get my degree one day, I can always do that, but I don't think I'm going to need to, and I haven't. So I'm happy I made that call. So kids, if you're listening, drop out of college.
And Tom, I think, and you may or may not, I'm going to interject before you go to your next chapter, which I'm assuming is AI Simplifier, but pretty cool that you actually converted me over to a Mac, whether you realize it or not.
I did not.
I did mention it on one of the training calls that I was on with your team, and game changer. I used to be on a Mac. Ironically, my dad had the first Apple, and my dad was always very technology forward and just doing a lot of things way ahead of the curve. And he was a big, believer in Apple. And I was a Mac user. Somehow or another, I got converted over to PC when the business grew and we were all using PCs and whatever. I just went. And I more recently went over to the Mac when I went through your AI Simplifier course. And, you explained to me, and honestly, it was like, I'm already an iPhone user. There's a lot of intuition when you're using a Mac, but the shortcuts and the efficiencies and Apple Intelligence, and just I've been able to use AI much more effectively ever since I've kind of made that transition. So I did want to interject and thank you for that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And, at the end of the day, it's removing friction. Where in our lives are we tolerating friction that we have actually normalized? Right. And working with a Windows computer, I'm not trying to make this a Mac versus PC thing, but for me, there was just so much friction, so many things that are not built with the end user in mind. It's it's a technical, checking off the feature, but then if you actually try to use it, it's just so much harder than it needs to be, And again, for me, that summed it up. When I went back, I was like, wow, it just works. I can focus on doing what I want to do instead of trying to get the damn thing to work.
Yeah.
Right. That was kind of like the mindset. And so, did the Cutco and Vector thing, did really well with it.
So many people have gone through the Cutco training and wow, and just done so well for themselves. I think that's has been foundational for a lot of people of the work ethic and just the perseverance and the training and the structure and just everything that they taught. I mean, I tell you
Yeah.
what, like I know I have that in the back of my mind that my kids, when it comes to that time, I'm going to really push them, towards or try to convince them to give that a try.
Yeah. Well, I see it, as I reflect on it now, I see it's a crucial rite of passage our society doesn't have. The best people in vector marketing were the Latter-day Saints, Mormons. They were amazing because they did the same thing, right? They go on a mission and they learned how to handle a no, and they learned how to get out of bed when they didn't want to, and how to, knock on doors and be, to develop the sense of persistence and ownership in your results and develop the people skills. These are things that our society is not giving our children these days,
Yeah.
right? Because our society thinks that education is about memorizing facts. And it's like, it's so outdated, but that's a whole other tangent.
Yeah. And by the way, Tom, like I'm the same way. I dropped out, right? I only actually made it a few days in college. And because I just wanted to learn what I wanted to learn. And I'm like, I'm sitting
Yeah.
there and I'm learning stuff that I know had nothing to do. I knew I always wanted to be in financial services. I thought I
Mhm.
wanted to be a stockbroker. I thought I wanted to be an attorney, estate planning, loved
Yeah.
those areas. It all kind of came together in our holistic wealth management firm. But at the end of the day, like I knew I didn't want to be a scientist. All right. I knew I
Mhm.
was sitting in science classes. I knew I was being forced to learn things that I had no passion or desire or interest whatsoever in. And it
Yeah.
was like, here and now, I've always been embarrassed. Like I used to try to hide the fact of like, oh, I went to college. I don't say that I only went 3 days, but
Yeah.
it's like, but now it's like I kind of like wear a little bit of a badge of honor. And I think I love the way the overall society's going of
Mhm.
realizing everybody shouldn't go to college, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I think like the trades, for example, is an amazing opportunity for the
Oh,
next
it's
future
huge.
entrepreneurs in this country. But it's just like too many kids are getting forced to go right into college and rack up
Yeah, they
all
don't
that
know what they
credit.
want. They don't know what's important to them. They don't know what lights them up, right? Like our kids' school, I was just telling you, we're moving to Costa Rica by next summer, and the school where the kids are going to go, each student has a unique curriculum based on their strengths and who they are and what they care about. And it's like, that's genius,
Wow.
But yeah, so change is happening slowly. I think the pace is picking up a little bit, but sadly, this greatly outdated learning model is still going to be around for longer than it should.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, we could do a whole podcast, I feel like, on that, man.
just education. Yeah,
I'm
so
passionate
we
about schooling and
did the
stuff.
vector marketing thing. Then I
Yeah.
bounced around a few cubicle jobs, and then we were living in Santa Cruz at the time, and I needed something new. And I was like, hey, I love Macs. I love helping people. Let's put them together. So I went to coffee shops and put in one of those pull tab things. Give me a call, Apple consultant.
Yeah.
Um, I was the santacruzmactutor.com. That was my domain. Little side bonus tip: don't ever put the in a domain. It's horrible to explain to people how you spell your name. So I started that, and fast forward, next year it's going to be 20 years for Global Mac IT, and it was really born just from wanting to help people with the technology they're already sitting on, they already have access to, right?
Right.
And so Global Mac IT grew. I mean, that was the 19-year overnight success kind of thing, just steady, consistent growth. But I was, I was learning how to run a business, every step of the way, and so it takes a long time when you're trying to figure it out. Fast forward to today, the company's super stable. We have an amazing 100% A player team. I've got a CEO running the company now because we implemented EOS about 8 years ago, and that allowed us to get the stability and clarity so I could start kind of pulling away from it. Because about 7 years ago, I had the insight when I was going through Strategic Coach, and I learned about my unique ability.
Right.
And at the bottom line, like, I'm a coach. I love to coach. I love to help others. I care about impact and transformation. And I'm like, what am I doing running an IT company? you know? And so I just felt totally out of place, but I wasn't in a place where I could sell it or step out. So I was like, all right, I'm in it. I'm going to turn it around and get it stable. So about 3 years ago, I got to the point where I was working one day a week in the company, and I was like, okay, I can breathe. I can start to reinvent myself. What do I want to do? So I
Right.
took a few years having a few false starts. I started a cybersecurity company because it was the logical play. So I was like, oh, we're already in cybersecurity. We're in the IT space. There's a need. So it checked all the logical boxes of like, yes, this makes sense. We should do it. But in retrospect, I had no passion. I didn't wake up every day and go, oh, I want to protect people from the bad guys. Like it was not a drive for me. And so it didn't ever take off. Moving into the AI world, I had an early collaboration about 3 years ago, right when ChatGPT went big and all that.
Yep.
And my partner at the time had access to the stages. That's how I got to work with Peter Diamandis and Tony Robbins and so forth.
Yep.
So it was a really good experience. So, I was working with leadership teams on teaching them how to leverage and implement AI and like, what is this AI thing and how do we use it?
Right.
We ended up building a 12-week AI course. When I say we, it was really I. He said, hey, here's the outline, build it, deliver it, create it. And so he had access to the stages, and I worked on the delivery and the product.
Yep.
Course went extremely well. We had a abnormally high completion rate, especially given a 12-week course, and they were 90 to 120-minute sessions. So the delivery, the content was good, but in retrospect, it was drinking from a fire hose. It was just way too much. So there were some issues, and I walked away from that in the beginning of 2024. And then I went out and I was like, I'm going to build a coaching practice. That's what I've always wanted to do.
Yep.
Slowly throughout the year, people started calling me up saying, hey, can you help me out with AI stuff? And that's when I realized that I have a really unique lens and approach towards AI that's really completely the opposite of what all of society is running towards and doing right now.
Yeah.
And so in January of this year, I had kind of the download, the clarity, and I was like, okay, here's what I'm going to build: a 30-day sprint. CEOs don't have time for a 12-week program.
Right.
They want to get in, they want to get out, they want to get real world practical uses, because that's what's missing. There's so all the AI experts out there. The overwhelming majority, I like to throw in the category which I call over complexifying entertainers, right? So everyone I know has sat through an AI presentation that's just whiz bang boom bow. Look at this cool thing AI can do, but then they walk away impressed, but completely clueless on how to actually leverage and implement it in their business, right? A financial advisor goes through this training, and they're like, okay, I don't need to make cute custom videos for my clients with, dancing ponies and stuff.
Right.
So fast forward to today, that kind of gets us. I tried to not make it too long, but here we are.
Yeah, no, that was great, Tom. I think that was super helpful. All right, let's kind of like switch gears a little bit to talk more about the financial advisors, right, that are listening to this podcast, and so and the owners of those firms. So being in strategic coach, doing what you do, I imagine you've had a lot of owners and financial advisor
Tons.
Right, come through your program, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so so that's awesome, because that's going to be helpful, direct information you're going to be able to share. So what's the biggest unspoken dangers you see around AI, or things that aren't hurting them yet but will compound over the next 12 to 36 months if they don't do anything with AI?
Yeah. So I'd say first is where they're putting their attention, right? You hear AI, you hear danger, you think of all the LinkedIn headlines that dominate. Google just laid 40,000 people off. Colgate laid 10,000 due to AI. So collectively, the messaging from the media right now is AI is bad. AI is going to hurt you. It's going to replace you. It's going to take away from you, and it's a threat. So because of that, a lot of people are immobilized. And so I think the biggest unspoken danger I see in successful advisory firms is the silent cost of staying in learning mode or waiting by the sidelines and watching. Right. I was just at the coffee shop this morning, and it's a financial advisor. We've been coffee shop buddies for 6 years, actually. We had a quick chat, and he still hadn't done anything. Right. Because if you don't see yourself as tech savvy, right, if you don't have that label for yourself, and this is what I've realized, everyone without that label tells themselves they can't do AI. Right. They don't know where to start. It's overwhelming. It's scary. Or they try to, and what do? They go to Google and they see all these super hyped up AI, magic master AI videos by all these young kids and big loud videos and whiz bang, and then they get overwhelmed. And it's like, okay, this isn't practical. So So most advisors, so a lot of people are stuck. The ones that are out of the gate are treating AI like a hobby, right? They're watching those videos. They're signing up for the AI newsletters so they can tell themselves that they're on top of AI.
Yeah.
All those newsletters do is put them instantly in the gap. Hey, here's 17 new AI apps you must be using today,
Yeah.
right? And here's a 74-page prompt book that you can use that's going to solve it, and that's going to change everything, right? And so they're not integrated into their actual and practical workflow. And so in 12 months, the firms that have learned how to use AI, notice I didn't say the companies who have found a magical AI software product and rolled it out, those companies are failing because they're jumping straight to the tool, but no one is being taught how to actually use it, how to work with it, right?
Right.
So the ones that are going to have, built AI into the way that they work, they're going to be saving 10 to 15 to 20 hours a week collectively, right? The ones still experimenting are going to be wondering why they're stuck in the weeds. They're going to take it out every month or two. They're going to poke it a couple times. They're going to go, oh yeah, see, that's not that impressive. I don't know what the hype is about, and tell themselves, hey, I looked into AI and it's not ready for me yet, right? So they're stuck. So I think that's a big one. And the fact is, I hate this concept, but it's been, it's everywhere, right? It's the idea, and actually Peter Diamandis was saying this at Abundance 360 a few years ago. He said AI is not going to replace your job, but the people who know how to use AI will.
Yeah.
And I hate it because it's so cliche nowadays. And here's what happened: a lot of founders, they heard that, and they came back and they grabbed their megaphone and they told their whole team, "Hey, you got to start learning how to use AI, or else." And so what happened is you have a whole bunch of team members that went out and taught themselves how to use AI, right? Which they don't know how to do that. So now they're using AI, but they're using it in the wrong way. They're actually eroding your brand, right? They're sending out emails that are written by AI that your high value clients, your $10 million AUM, $10 million net worth client gets an email. He goes, oh my God, was this written by AI or what? Right. And this happens all the time because very few people, it's not, are they using AI, but have they learned how to use it correctly?
Right.
And there's a big distinction, and very few people know that distinction.
Thanks for tuning in. This podcast was brought to you by C2P, an organization whose purpose is to educate, train, grow, and support holistic financial advisors so families can achieve true prosperity. Never miss an episode by subscribing now to discover new resources and strategies. Visit c2penterprises.com to learn how we can help scale and secure your business. At the time of delivery and any subsequent publishing, information was deemed reliable, but is subject to change by the time of listening or viewing. The contents of this piece include options and projections of C2P, are subject to change, and are for informational purposes only. The information provided in this presentation is not intended to be individual investment, tax, or legal advice.